You're staring at your computer screen. There's this project you know you need to start. It's been on your to-do list for weeks, maybe months. Every time you think about it, your brain just shuts down. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because it feels so big, so unclear, so overwhelming that you literally don't know where to begin. If that's you right now, take a breath. You're not broken. You're just dealing with what I call clarity procrastination. And honestly, it's one of the most common ways our brains try to protect us from uncertainty. I'm Tony, and I've spent years studying why we get stuck and how we can gently unstick ourselves. Today, I want to share something that completely changed how I approach overwhelming tasks. It's called the 5-minute rule, but it's not what you think. And by the end of this video, you'll have a toolkit that doesn't force you to push through it, works with your brain instead of against it. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's a marketing manager who came to me because she'd been avoiding updating her company's website for 4 months. 4 months. Every morning, she'd open her laptop with good intentions, look at the project, and immediately find something else to do. Check email, reorganize her desk, suddenly need coffee. I know what needs to be done, she told me. But when I think about all the pages, all the content, all the decisions, my brain just goes blank. Sound familiar? Here's what Sarah didn't realize and what most of us don't realize when a task feels overwhelming. Your brain isn't being difficult. It's actually trying to help you. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning and decision-making, literally gets overwhelmed when it can't create a clear path forward. Think about it like this. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a dark forest. You know your destination is somewhere on the other side, but you can't see a trail. Your brain's natural response? Don't go in. Wait. Find more information. Do something else instead. That's clarity procrastination. It's not about motivation or willpower. It's about your brain protecting you from the discomfort of uncertainty. But here's the thing I learned from working with hundreds of people like Sarah for my own struggles with overwhelming projects. The solution isn't to force yourself to see the whole path. It's to light up just the next step. This is where most advice gets it wrong. You've probably heard the standard 5-minute rule. Just commit to working on something for 5 minutes. But that's still too overwhelming when you don't know what working on it actually means. The real 5-minute rule is this. Spend 5 minutes making the unclear clear, not working on the project, not trying to make progress. Just bringing clarity to what feels foggy. Here's how it works. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Then ask yourself one simple question. What's the very first concrete action I could take on this project? Not the first big step, the first tiny, specific action. For Sarah, it wasn't update the website. It was open the current website and write down 3 things I noticed that could be improved. That's it. Just noticing. Just gathering information. When the timer went off, something interesting happened. She didn't stop. She kept going. Not because she forced herself, but because her brain finally had clarity about what working on it actually meant. Let me share another example. My friend Mike had been putting off organizing his finances for months. Every time he thought about it, he'd get overwhelmed thinking about budgets, taxes, investments, retirement planning. Too much, too unclear. So we applied the 5-minute rule. His first 5-minute session, find all my bank statements from the last 3 months and put them in one folder. That's it. Not organize them, not analyze them, just gather them. The next day, another 5 minutes. Write down the name of each account and the current balance. Still not organizing, still not planning, just clarifying what he was working with. By the 3rd day, Mike had momentum. Not because he'd forced himself to power through, but because each small, clear action had reduced the overwhelm and made the next step obvious. This is what I call the clarity cascade. Once you make one small part clear, the next part becomes visible. And then the next. Like turning on lights in a dark hallway, you don't need to see the whole hallway, just the next few steps. But here's the crucial part most people miss. You have to customize this approach to your specific type of overwhelm. There are actually 3 different reasons why tasks feel overwhelming, and each one needs a slightly different version of the 5-minute rule. First, there's scope overwhelm. This is when the project feels too big, too complex, too many moving parts. Like Sarah's website project, for scope overwhelm, your 5-minute sessions should focus on breaking things down. Ask, what's the smallest piece of this I could complete? Second, there's decision overwhelm. This is when you're paralyzed by too many options or uncertain about the right approach. For decision overwhelm, your 5-minute sessions should focus on gathering information. Ask, what's one thing I could research or learn that would make this decision clearer? Third, there's perfectionism overwhelm. This is when you're stuck because you're afraid of doing it wrong or not doing it well enough. For perfectionism overwhelm, your 5-minute sessions should focus on exploration, not execution. Ask, what's one small experiment I could try without worrying about the outcome? I learned this the hard way when I was writing my first book. I spent months avoiding it because I was overwhelmed by all 3 types at once. The scope felt massive. I didn't know the right approach, and I was terrified of writing something terrible. The breakthrough came when I stopped trying to write the book and started spending 5 minutes a day just capturing one idea, not organizing it, not polishing it, just getting one thought out of my head and onto paper. Some days I'd write about a story I wanted to include. Other days, I'd jot down a question I wanted to explore. Sometimes I'd just write about why I was scared to write that day. There was no pressure to make it good or complete, just to make it real. After 3 weeks of these tiny 5-minute sessions, something shifted. I wasn't overwhelmed anymore. I was curious. I actually wanted to see what I'd think about next. The unclear had become clear, not through force, but through gentle, consistent clarity. Now, I want to give you a practical framework you can use starting today. I call it the clarity ladder. Think of it as a step-by-step process for moving from overwhelm to action. Step 1. Name the overwhelm. Don't just feel it, identify it. Is this scope overwhelm, decision overwhelm, or perfectionism overwhelm? Or maybe a combination? Write it down. Sometimes just naming what we're experiencing reduces its power over us. Step 2. Set your 5-minute timer. This isn't about productivity, it's about giving your brain a clear boundary. 5 minutes feels safe. It's not enough time to fail spectacularly. It's just enough time to make one small thing clear. Step 3. Choose your clarity question based on your overwhelm type. For scope, what's the smallest piece? For decision, what's one thing I could learn? For perfectionism, what's one small experiment? Step 4. Take one micro action. Not a big action, not a perfect action. Just one small concrete step that brings clarity to the unclear. Step 5. Notice what you learned. This is crucial. At the end of your 5 minutes, pause and reflect. What did you discover? What became clearer? What feels less overwhelming now? Step 6. Plan your next 5-minute session. Not your next work session, your next clarity session. What's the next small thing you could make clear? I want to be honest with you about something. This approach isn't magic. It won't make your overwhelming project disappear. Some days, you'll still feel resistant. Some days, even 5 minutes will feel too long. That's okay, that's human. But what this approach does is change your relationship with overwhelm. Instead of seeing it as a wall you need to break through, you start seeing it as fog you can gradually clear. Remember Sarah? After 6 weeks of using the 5-minute rule, she'd not only updated her website, but had developed a system for approaching any overwhelming project. She told me, I used to think I was bad at big projects. Now I realize I was just bad at making them clear. That's the shift I want for you. You're not bad at taking action. You're not lazy or undisciplined. You're just human, and humans need clarity to move forward. Here's something I want you to try this week. Think of one project you've been avoiding because it feels overwhelming. Don't think about completing it. Don't think about making progress on it. Just think about spending 5 minutes making one small part of it clearer. Maybe it's opening the file and just looking at what you have so far. Maybe it's writing down 3 questions you need to answer. Maybe it's researching one small aspect you've been uncertain about. Whatever it is, make it small, make it specific, make it safe. And then, when you're done, come back to the comments and tell me what you discovered. Not what you accomplished, what you learned. What became clearer? What feels less overwhelming now? I read every comment and I'm genuinely curious about your experience. Because the truth is, we're all just trying to figure out how to navigate uncertainty together. And sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is admit we don't see the whole path and take one small step anyway. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just between clarity and action, and that's a perfectly human place to be. I'm Tony, and your story is just getting clearer.